In this video, we look at the flexions, the foundation of touch communication. When you begin to work under saddle, the vast majority of your communication will happen by touch, primarily through rein cues to the horse's mouth. For that reason, it's important to start building this touch communication on the ground. This work is based on using a rhythmic motion and slight pressure to simulate the half halt and the reverse half halt that you would generate with your reins. Here you can see Deb working with Luca on the backwards flexion. She makes a circle with her hand, and when she's on the back quarter of the circle, puts a slight pressure, cueing him to step backwards. She uses the same slight pressure on each repetition of the circle, not increasing the pressure, but just waiting for Luca to get the idea and respond. When he does figure out to move his foot, as soon as the foot lifts off the ground and his weight moves backwards, she clicks. This ties that single movement directly to the cue. As Luca gets more and more responsive, Deb is able to use a lighter and lighter touch on her cue and get the same amount of response. In many ways, this exercise is just as important for the human as for the horse. By being conscious of the subtle movement of our hands, we ensure that we're good communicators when we have reins connected to a bit. Here we see Luca begin to get distracted by things going on in his surroundings. There's dogs, a lot of movement, and a lot of noise in the arena. Deb does the right thing and just waits with him to calm down so that she can reset and start again. You can see that this next step is not Luca's best and he is still distracted, but Deb decides to give it to him anyway as a way to get his mind refocused and back in the game. This work involves small movements and a lot of concentration, and that can be challenging for a horse if they do get distracted. So it's important to be patient with them and offer them the opportunity to give you good results. Luca does exactly that, giving Deb a very nice response to a very gentle cue. Here we see Deb working on the next flexion, stepping forward. She uses the same circling motion, but this time puts the pressure towards the front of the circle rather than towards the rear. After this new try, Luca gets distracted by the dogs again, so Deb decides to ask him to do the tried and true backup flexion to get his mind back focused. While Luca's response is not quite as crisp as some of his other tries, he thinks his whole way through the process, which is very positive. So Deb decides to move on to the next flexion, which is moving the head upwards into a collected position. Again, she uses the circle, this time with the pressure in the top quarter of the circle towards the sky. Oftentimes, the responses to this flexion and the head down flexion will be more subtle than the forwards and backwards steps. It's important to look for those slight tries and to reward them. Just there, it's a very small movement that Luca makes, but it's very thought through and very deliberate, which is exactly what we're looking for. As you start to work on these flexions with your horse, you'll find that there's a lot of different things that you can click for. You can click for quickness of response, subtleness of movement, deliberateness of movement, and size of movement. All of these criteria together will add up to give you the response that you're looking for when communicating with your horse by touch under saddle. In the next video, we will look at flexions to move the forehand and the hindquarters. In the meantime, please enjoy playing with these flexions with your horse and discover the joys of subtle touch communication.